of matter, and we're going to the monthly astro weather for each ascendant. So this is the second month that I'm doing this, and I like this from the vantage point of an astrologer. It gives me a couple of perspectives as to how this weather is experienced by different ascendants and different people. This is actually already a Venus night and Venus hour, and ascendant in Cancer. So we begin with ascendant Cancer. Moon is in Virgo at the time of this broadcast, and the midheaven in Aries. Let's talk about your month. So for ascendant Cancer, you're going to be having the main lunations are going to happen in Capricorn and in Leo for you. So it's going to be in your 7th house and in your 2nd house. The ingresses into Capricorn are going to happen into your 7th house. So we're talking about Mars, Mercury, and later Venus ingressing into your 7th house. I'm going to tell you the dates in a minute. And then, of course, the ingress of the sun is going to happen in your 8th house. Uranus is going to station direct at the end of the month in your 11th house. And I'm telling you that even before I tell you about Mercury stationing direct in your 6th house and then ingressing into your 7th. Because the long-term mark for this month is the turning direct of Uranus. And I think at this point it is in place to think about since 2018, what has been going on in your 11th house, your dreams and goals, your networking events, if you're a public figure, if you're giving speeches or conferences you have attended. We know everything began to become Zoom. Okay, conferences in our field began to be Zoom and hybrid. So many things changed. Now you're talking about a chapter of this book, but it is already in place to think about what is becoming the new normal for you in the 11th house since 2018. Okay. And that can be many things. Venus will be in Capricorn at the time of the ingress. Okay. This happens January 27. So it's the end of the month. We are already in the degree of 19 degrees Taurus. Okay. I want you to think, how does this Uranus meet your fixed axis in your chart? Okay, what do you have around these degrees in Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo? Because this Taurus, she be squaring your 2nd house, she be squaring your 8th house, she be opposing your 5th house. Okay, and so this is definitely one I want you to take time and meditate on. What has it been meaning for you? It's not just your dreams and goals, it's your income and expenses and your 401k and your investments and your view of, do I have joint assets with my partner, business or marriage, or business and marriage even. It is also your relations with your children. Can even be, do I want children? Okay, for some of you. And romantic partners, the way you view romantic affairs. And I'm not talking about extramarital affairs. I'm talking about the stage where you're just dating before you get committed, or if you want to get committed, and what commitment style. But here, what you do for fun, okay? Uranus is opposing all these matters, is in hard aspect to these matters, is posing a challenge. And this challenge is very public to you. It's your dreams and goals. It's your social agenda. You may find out that what you intimately talk about with your partner may end up, depending on your natal chart and transits, may end up in the 11th house, okay, as a lecture. Or you may find out that your relationship with your child creating a stress or a conflict, or maybe you want to see your children and you're actually been successful. You had a sudden windfall where you can travel to this place, to that place, because you have very interesting conferences there, or maybe talks that you want to give. And then the relationship with your child, or your dating life, or what you do for fun, your leisure time. It's like your dreams are manifesting, but it is a conflict to keep it fun, to keep it joyous, and the risk taking that you once did are now at conflict with the risk taking that Uranus requires you in the 11th. So it's not just the last 6 months, but since 2018, okay, because we are heading towards the years where it's going to be the closing chapter, okay, around 2025. It's going to be the closing chapter for Uranus in Taurus. So definitely it's those chapters where 2024 and 2025 are kind of like, this is Uranus in Taurus. What you close these years with is going to probably be quite permanent. There's still some unexpected things to go, but begin to reassess what is this about. And so the other direct motion is Mercury, and it's going to go direct right on this 22nd degree of Sagittarius. I believe this happens already tomorrow. Monthly? Yes, this happens already tomorrow, January 2nd. And so for you, it stations direct on the 6th house in the 22nd degree. So 6th house, pets, your employees if you have a business, your health, your physical health. Now, because it is the ruler of your mental health, then you may find a connection here, okay? Physical health, mental health kind of stuff. And enemies at work, okay? So this is where if you, and Mercury is about business transactions, words, communications, contracts, okay? If there was something that was not clear in a working contract, then that is something that you can patch up right now. If there was a word that you said that some of the your employees were triggered by, okay, then that might be something you begin to patch up right now, and it's affecting the 6th house. And Mercury will later ingress to Capricorn, and this ingress happens in January 14th, and still beyond its shade period. So your work and your relationships at a more holistic level, your physical health or pets that you have, if you need like license for your pets, or if you need to travel somewhere, and because the ruler of the 6th is in the 11th, and you might need, and it's Jupiter, so you might need to travel for a conference, and you had some papers to fix for your pets so that you can travel with them, or you are having some sort of medications that you need to take with you, then this is the time to get everything arranged. Now, the 22nd degree, unless you have predisposition with a lot of this 22nd and 11th coming up, then my suggestion is to not worry about this. Be prepared if you have like employee or something like that that is experiencing intentional death. I don't mean suicide, I mean murder. Then that can be somebody that deals with something, unless there is some dispositions might be not be so close to you, maybe one of your colleagues or something that you read about when you're at work, because Mercury is also newspapers. So that can be in the background. I'm saying this not for doom and gloom, so that you know where it's coming, and not be too worried, okay, about this. Um, so this is what I have to say. So Mercury begins in your sixth house, correcting things. Now it goes on January 14th, it goes to your seventh house on the direct motion. Think about what has been in December. What have you been discussing with your business and romantic partners and/or romantic partners in December? Those issues is kind of like a version of this argument or this conflict or this conversation, okay, will come up again with now you're going to be able to catch this up more, or at least be aware that, hey, we agree to disagree on this, and so on and so forth. Because of the placement of Saturn in Pisces, Pisces is in ninth house, so it has to do with your worldview and how you present it. It can be the words that you're using to express your ideas. It can be your ideas, darling. You know. So, if it is your ideas and it is business or relationship partners, then you might be re-evaluating things. Although, unless there is something that says so, okay, it's not about breaking up or making up, okay, unless it's like an ex. And so your seventh house is ruled by Saturn. You might be contacted by exes of 28 years ago, because this is Saturn, you know. But other than that, things move rather slow with you. So I don't suspect that you will break up with the partner on this unless it touches on, let's say, a natal Uranus, or something that signifies breakup. It's mainly understanding that either the way you present your worldview or your teachings, or the worldview itself is some friction, and there is a reality check. So you could be with Saturn in your ninth house, you could be changing your worldview because you're getting a reality check to your worldview, your teachings. But this also means that your teachings, because of the location of Jupiter, can become your lecture. So you might be finishing up a PhD thesis, okay? And of course, your intimate relations are a tremendous inspiration to how in practice do you practice your worldview. So this connection between the seventh house of partnerships and open enemies to your ninth house, and now you'll get the chance to get a reality check. And by the time you're done, this is already a lecture, this is already a course, it's already a teaching. You could be making money from that and sharing dividends with your partner. And this might be what you're discussing just yet, okay? If there's a book you're working on, you might be working towards this completion. And your worldview, the way you view things, because Saturn is in your ninth house, you're in for a reality check. Have you been working with the correct paradigms for this time in your life? Altering them can actually improve upon your relationship. My prediction is that you're having a reality check of your worldview, your traveling schedule, and your academic achievements. And that is something that just resolves things, because it is more in alignment with what your partner believes. Okay, you are adjusting your beliefs to your partner unless there's something significant other, and it's not coming from coercion. Albeit Pluto is in the seventh house, okay, so you want to make sure that you genuinely believe that you're not pretending or succumbing to the pressure because it's easy to believe this or that. But I believe it is more like your worldview is changing, and it's affected by your partner, and it's making concrete achievements in the world for you, especially when you're giving a teaching or a talk or a dissertation, and that can actually bring you two together. Again, unless you have like a nasty Uranus there. And yes, Mars is going to go through a seventh house. It's a Saturn-ruled seventh house, okay? A Mars transit alone cannot break apart a Saturn-ruled relationship, okay? It has to be something more. That being said, if it is a breakup, it's because of the worldview, your working schedule, and so on and so forth. and it's likely to be occurring around another Saturn transit for you. So if you have something conjunct in this Saturn in Pisces, or if you have Saturn in Pisces, that's a Saturn return or a Saturn maturation or a major Saturn transit, that can be a significant ending. Other than that, I just think you're getting your mind right relative to where you are right now, and your partner is affecting this worldview in a way that eventually is becoming fruitful for you. So that can be the case. I could be wrong, of course. The next up, we have the ingresses. So we talked about the ingress of Mercury while we talked about Mercury turning direct. Before this, we have the ingress of Mars to Capricorn in January 4. This means that Mars is going, fortunately, you're going to have the inflammation planet out of your system for a while, because now you're just fighting with your partner. Okay, so whatever health issues you have been having, if you have been like, Jupiter is lungs and Mars is inflammation. So I hope you've not been having like contracted some sort of pneumonia or anything like this. Other than that, any health issues you have been experiencing, or even an accident, you're going to be done with that soon. And you're just going to be arguing with your partner for a while. And so, again, you have a Saturn ruled seventh house. I'm not thinking that you're going to break apart at this time. Saturn is also ruling, Mars is also ruling your fifth house. So you might be having heated sex with your partner, in as much as heated arguments with your partner. And Mars is ruling your 10th house. So again, this reception between your public houses and your intimate houses is breathing some fruits. All in all, unless you have, again, like a nasty outer planet in your fifth house or in your seventh house. I mean, you have Pluto right now transit, but it simply means that your love life, what you do for fun, what you're committed to, what you're passionate about, what you believe in, and your life mission, your career, and your teaching, and your traveling and conference and social connections are beginning to work together in a lovely way. There's some drama, there's some conflict. It's nothing much to worry about, unless, of course, you have a reason to worry. Okay. This is, of course, the time that if you have something, and you're going to also have a new beginning there in the seventh house, but we'll soon talk about this. But unless you have some scandal, okay, some, if you haven't sexually harassed anybody, if you haven't, plagiarized your employees or your colleagues or something like that, you really have nothing to worry about, okay? And even if Saturn in Pisces is about repent, so if you genuinely change your way, and you genuinely understand what and how to do better, it can set you up for a way better cycle of all of the above. Okay, taking accountability and repenting is also the way to deal with things. It's not about most things are correctable and amendable. So yeah, this is what's happening in January 4th. Okay, so Mars Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. It means that your arguments are going to be with long duration and very passionate. It's the same old argument, but maybe you also enjoy the makeup sex. I don't know. But the sex can also be of Saturn quality here, which can be benefic. Anything. Yes, this is Mars. Venus is going to ingress into your seventh house. You're having a lovely time since as of January 23rd. Okay, Venus is ruling your 11th, and she is ruling your fourth house. So the fact that Venus is ruling both your fourth house and your 11th on a general natal level, and this is an evergreen teaching for you, is annoying. Okay, you can't get away from home. You go to and if you have a midheaven somewhere around there, then it's kind of like I am the daughter of, the son of, the sister of. The Venus is sisterhood. And so there's something in your upbringing, in your housing, in your home environment that comes with you to the 11th. It can be annoying, but it can also be quite lovely if you have if you're a householder and every time you are in a social network you kind of like present yourself in this way, then it might work out for you. But it's also mean that anything from your upbringing is affecting you in a way that is visible when you're doing networking, okay, and on a larger scale. Can't get away from your home. It has its pros and cons. Now this Venus is going into your 7th. So you're going to have your public life, your dreams and goals, your conference lives in the intimate arena, okay, of partners and open enemies. And it's going to be associated with one of your parents or your home or your upbringing. This is where even though it is Venus, and Venus in the 7th is usually a lovely time. You can get connected, you can meet somebody. If it's also Saturn transit, it's important to you. Could be meeting someone if you're single. But because Venus is ruling your 4th and your 11th, into that committed relationship, you are married to your home and you are married to your dreams. It actually can be quite positive, but we know that usually when it comes to our home, the home that we grew up in, there is always something to tend to. Okay, now you're getting the chance to tend to, because it's Venus, can be more pleasurable. If you're a day chart, it might be more annoying to you. If you are a night chart, you might be more satisfied. There Venus is about bringing things together. 7th house is the marital sex, so fantasies from your upbringing can come up into fruition. And where does the dreams and goals play a part in that? I don't know. It's a weird combination to have, but you're used to it. Venus is not the first time going through your 7th house. All in all, joyous time. Pay attention because you will be releasing from the square to Neptune. So, money spent on health, on issues like that can happen. But later she will begin to apply to sextile Neptune, just like Mars, Mercury, and everybody that came before her, which means that you can get, by the time Venus is around 24, 25 degrees Capricorn, you get to experience a spiritual height that is actually with your feet on the ground, okay? So it's very beautiful moment for your relationships and your partnerships. Hopefully not enmities, but even in enmities, you could be settling enmities in a way where you deal with your arguments in treat your loved ones like you treat your enemies like you treat your loved ones, because you're going to argue with your partner and it's going to be intense, right? So yeah. Now we talked about the ingresses, and what we have is the lunations. Okay, I'm not going to go over the entire synodic cycle, maybe like little things. Well, Sun is going to conjunct Pluto on January 20. Okay, she's going to conjunct Pluto in your 7th house. And the moon is going to trine this. So what does the Sun rule? It rules your 2nd house. And this is a juncture where, from the 7th to the 8th, even if you are only married and not a business partner, this is where your marriage become a business in the 8th house, because now we talk about inheritance, we talk about will, we talk about shared assets, we talk about the serious stuff. And now this is a juncture where you are more informed of how the money that you make and the money that you spend affect your love life, your marital life, your committed life, and your business partnerships. Okay, liabilities, um, debt, and all of these things, especially when we talk about like the Bolikolis, or we talk about life insurance, or when we're talking about health insurance, travel insurance. Travel health insurance can be an issue that you discuss. Um, yeah, you're thinking about all the real stuff right now, and it's done from a nice aspect. Okay, and also you are informed of whatever power issues. Pluto has been in your seventh house since 2008. Okay, so but the thing with Pluto and Saturn here is that Pluto is in Saturn sign. It basically means that since 2008 your partner has been finding their power. What they didn't know is that they had more power over you than they believed, unless you have like Moon in the seventh, that they had probably more power over you than they believed that they had. So now they're becoming more informed of the power that they've always had over you, um, and um, and you see how that affects your your value, your incomes, and your expenses and your skill. So because of Saturn, there can be age difference between you, and you feel like the older partner. That can be very unusual because usually the older partner has more power, and in this situation, genuinely, the partner may have had more power than they believed that they have had over you. And I'm not talking about sexual power. I'm talking here actually Saturn rules the profit that we make from stocks. They may have come from a certain lineage that is corrective to your lineage, but you may have felt overpowered by your relationship. And now is a good time to readjust your self-value, and perhaps refine your self-value. Okay, not the first time Sun conjuncts Pluto, but on the anaretic degree, there's a sense of completion, understanding of the intricacy of power relations and intimacy, and the many factors that play a role. Because yes, if your partner is younger than you, then of course you have certain power by the merit of the age difference, but there is also another facet here, and this facet has to do with Saturn, has to do with lineage, it has to do with wealth. So maybe your partner's coming from a wealthy family, um, and you always have to stand up to that, or to show that you're not a gold digger, or something like this. And if your partner is older, then that can literally be like the age difference playing a part. But now there's a certain age where, even though you have age difference, you think about, Beyonce and Jay-Z. Beyonce, right now in her 40s, doesn't necessarily have less power in the relationship than Jay-Z. Okay, may have been different in the 20s, but there are also the effects of the onset of this relation on the ongoing. Okay, so some things are sobering out, but some things will never sober up, especially if you have been having like teacher-student relations. It doesn't matter your age, one of you will always be the teacher, even when the roles switch. And then it's very intricate with Saturn rule 7. So this is an aspect that's going to show up around January 20th. Any more like radical stuff? Well, there are the inner to outer planets. Not going, like, you can watch the general video I did for January for this segment, because it's a nice segment to look at if you want to plan your budget from a different perspective. Just be aware when it's not going to be successful. Okay, this is how I do this. Yeah, well, anything that touches on Capricorn, okay, we'll begin with Venus here is squaring Neptune from Sagittarius, from your 6th house to your 9th house. Yet again, okay, this Venus is, there is some sort of ideation going on that has to do with your worldview, your dreams and goals, and your family of upbringing. It can also be your spouse, okay, if Venus marks your spouse or your sister, and those relations and how they affect what you do religiously or philosophically, or your teaching, or if you are a student, an academic student, or an academic teacher. So there can be some sort of disillusionment there. Happens every once in a while, and it's probably something you're familiar with by now. Any more intense aspect that we want to discuss? Yeah, I'm not gonna go all in to, like, you can watch the general stuff and see what houses it falls for you. But I will talk about the lunations. So January 11, you have a new moon in your 7th house. Now, this new moon is 20 degrees Capricorn, applying, separating from a trine to Uranus retrograde on the 19th degree of Taurus. And this is going to open up a cycle just before, a week or two before Uranus turns direct on this very degree. So you're going to be open up a 6 months to a year cycle, and because it's in Saturn sign, in a very transparent way, it's going to be another voice of the 28 years long fuga that opens here, because it's Saturn is the ruler. Okay, it's not an intensive voice, but it's kind of in the background singing and will play out. So you want to pay attention to what happens here. And again, Saturn is in your 9th, so there's some revivification, okay, of your worldview that can be made public. And again, Moon and Sun rule your 1st and 2nd house. So you find your value in a relationship right now from a way that is unusual. If you astrology can actually be a contribution. You may be viewing your relationship differently because of insights you learned in astrology or in science. And remember this point as Uranus goes direct, because you're carrying a timestamp of a process that begins now with this timestamp of Uranus still retrograde. So you're redefining yourself and your value in the context of your worldview on your relationship, or your relationship with your partner in a way that affects your worldview. Yes, if not for the Uranus, I would say that maybe, yeah, with a nice, well, Venus here is a bit isolated, but I can't say it's an election for like commitment or something like that. But I can also, well, with the square to Uranus is not so it's unexpected, but you might find yourself unexpectedly committing. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, depending on other factors. So new beginning, it's going to be intimate, it's going to be international, so to speak, or philosophical or religious or spiritual, and it's going to be public. Okay, 11th house, networks, you're associated. You can be traveling to a conference and you have committed to someone, so now you're presenting yourself differently. But this is also spiritual change for you. It's not light at all. Okay. not in the sense that it's dark, it's more in the sense that it's intense, it's deep, it's um, yeah, but I think it is probably quite positive. It's sudden. This beginning, sudden. There's a sudden eureka there that you're going to take with you even when Uranus goes direct. It's going to stand the test of time, this insight, I believe. And again, I could be completely wrong. The full moon. And this is the last thing we're going to talk about for you this month. And the full moon is going to be on January 25 in 5 degrees Leo and 5 degrees Aquarius. So for you, it's happening in the axis of your 2nd and 8th house, with Saturn, the ruler of the sun, in your 9th house. Now, it's one of these moments where you are beginning to think of your ancestral connection to making money, spending money, and being defined by your possessions or by your expenditure, and how that affects your beliefs, your worldview. Okay, it can accumulate in many ways, because if you are doing something, teaching and giving lectures and stuff like that, you might be just thinking, well, am I getting paid enough to buy land, to buy a house, to ensure to secure the livelihood of my future generations? Because 8th house is where you came from, but it's also inheritance. It's your will as much as your inheritance. And you might be just thinking, am I making enough money? Or is the promise that my income, because your income is right now invested, okay? When the sun is in your 8th, you are invested, whether you pay taxes or debts or you just invest. Are my investments making the money that I expect them to make? Can I buy a vacation with this investment? You know what? Maybe you can. The truth is revealed to you. And there is tension here with Jupiter in your 11th that is supposed to be resolved at 6 degrees Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Capricorn in your 7th house. So your partner might help you to sort out, or at least to sort out what the conflict is about. Is it about that you're not making enough money? Is it about that you're not investing right? Is it about that you're traveling to the wrong places? Is it about that you're traveling in a way that's not really fulfilling for you? And 5th house, okay, is it about that you're forgetting your fun and joy? Or your children, okay? Is it about that you're going so much to your worldview and your conference, and you're thinking so much of how to provide and so on and so forth? It is lovely, but you also need to make time to be in the 5th house, to be in enjoyment, to play with your children. They also need that, and you are getting a chance to reevaluate and let go of what you've been of the old, because this is the full moon. The truth is revealed, something is coming into fruition. You look at the fruit and you say, okay, this is what I'm taking with me, this is what I'm letting go of, so that I can have a different result, or so that I can preserve this result as well. Okay, it can also mean you're letting go of doubt with this one as well. So this is January for you. All in all, it's a lovely month. Okay, things are going to begin to move direct as of January 27. Yes, there is those issues with like the 6th house, even when Mars is going to your seventh, it is the ruler of your fifth. So even if you will be having heated arguments, you might be enjoying that too. And you don't want to be enjoying that too much because your partner might not enjoy that. Okay, so if she or he having an argument and you are having a passionate expression, they might just want to argue a point with you. So you have to think about this too. But other than that, really nice month.